Raise that bucket, there we go. I'm gonna raise this bucket. All right, she's a ripper. Welcome back to the One Road Shop. Today I'm going to be stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something that I've never done before, and that is servicing this tractor you see right behind me. This thing takes all the same fluids and filters as any normal car or truck. Down here I have an array of filters and fluids, including some Shell Rotella T5 10W30, a new air filter by Wix, a new oil filter also by Wix, some good old Valuecraft green antifreeze, and I'm also going to be pouring a can of Seafoam into the fuel tank. This tractor is very old, as some of you already know, and you can also see it's not in the very best cosmetic condition either. That being said, I absolutely love the way this thing looks. I love the patina, the dents, and the wear and tear that this thing has had throughout its life. I believe it's a 1991, and the model is the L2050. Other than the filters and fluids, I don't know if you caught that these tires are actually on backwards, or the wrong side. The direction of the point of these treads should be going forward, not backward. You can also see there's an arrow here on the tire indicating the forward motion of this tread, and in this case it is on backwards. If we take a look at the back tire here, you can see the direction of those treads is aiming forward. And while this thing will still obviously drive and function probably just fine, I mean, look at the knobs on these things. Not only am I going to service this thing with the filters and fluids, but I'm also going to swap these tires back to the right sides. For those of you who may not know, this is a 3-cylinder diesel engine. You can see it's got an alternator right here. Here's the exhaust manifold, the starter, the radiator and radiator fan, the air filter housing, which is just in front of the radiator. And just below this air filter housing, you can see there is a battery down here. And I have the battery charging with this battery tender. This thing also came with this front bucket, and all of this is fully functional, as well as this box blade, I think it's called. And you can see this thing has about 1,314 hours. While one might think that 1,300 hours is a lot of hours, and from what I've been hearing for this type of equipment, it kind of is, you gotta remember, this thing's 30 years old. I think the original factory build date on this was 91. So we're looking at 30 years. So take 1,300 and divide that over 30 years. Someone do that for me in the comments below. It's not a lot of hours per year. So this thing was seemingly lightly used here on this 9-acre property. So let's get right to it. The first thing I'm gonna do is look for the drain plug. And the first thing I noticed is that there's actually 2 oil drain plugs, one here and one there. The reason why the oil pan is split and there are 2 drain plugs is because, well, there's a front drive shaft running down the center of it. No big deal, we just need to make sure we drain both sides. To do that, I'll be using this 17mm ratchet. There we go. Now that the drain bolt is loose, I'll go ahead and loosen it the rest of the way by hand, making sure that my drain bucket is properly placed. That is a long bolt. Here we go. All right. With the first side of the pan pretty well drained, I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. So let's go ahead and see what this other side does. Gets really loose, and you can just take it out the rest of the way by hand. Pretty long drain bolt. And there's the other side. We'll see how long that drains for. It looks like quite a bit of oil. With the oil pan now draining out, I can move on to something else like changing this air filter. I'll just loosen this bolt by hand, which loosens the collar. And with that collar loosened and removed, I can remove this end cap, which of course reveals the actual air filter. This is again held in with a wing nut, so I'll remove this. And now I can remove this air filter. And this air filter is definitely a very unique design. It's got these air baffling fins on it, and I can tell by looking very closely at the element that it is indeed very dirty. Here's the back of it, and you can see that it does have a rubber gasket. The replacement filter is not a Kubota brand filter, it is by Wix, and we all know Wix, in my experience, they make very good filters. So let's see what we got in this box. Okay, right away I can see that this rear gasket is designed a little bit differently. I wanted to see if this Wix filters gasket was going to do the job. I went ahead and smeared a bunch of grease on this gasket, and then I slid it into place, and you can see from that grease mark that yes, that gasket on the Wix filter is going to do just fine. Now that I know my aftermarket air filter is going to work just fine, I'll go ahead and slide it into place. I've got the cap back on, and this air filter is now serviced. This oil has been draining for quite a while now and is pretty much completely empty. I'm going to go ahead and replace these oil drain plugs. Okay, again here we have a Kubota branded filter, this time the oil filter. So let's just grab this thing and spin it off. I do have my drain pan in place. And it of course helps if you hang on to the oil filter as you're taking it off. And thankfully there was barely any oil that came out of here when I removed the filter. Now I'll just go ahead and clean up the mess I made. As you saw earlier, I'm not using a factory Kubota filter for the oil filter replacement. In this case, I'm using a Wix 51307. You can see there is a slight difference in the height of these two filters, as well as slight differences here on the face. You can see the gasket is different and the holes on the Wix filter are larger than that on the Kubota filter. Recently, someone told me that these Kubota oil filters from the factory contain magnets. That was really interesting to me because I am a big proponent of magnets on the outside of oil filters, and so I think I'm going to cut this one open at some point and try to confirm that. One thing I will certainly be doing on my Wix filter is applying this oil filter magnet here. With the new oil filter gasket lubed and this mating surface clean, I'll go ahead and spin on the new filter. And there it is, completely installed. Now that that's done, let's not forget our oil filter magnet. Now this is an old diesel engine. I guarantee there is plenty of ferrous material for this magnet to attract. Looking inside this engine compartment, you can see this oil fill cap here. And I'll simply remove it. And just like with most engine oil fill caps, this tells you exactly what kind of oil to use. And with everything buttoned up, I can now add in the new oil. We've got the new oil in, and now I'm going to put a can of Seafoam into the fuel tank. The fuel cap is here. And because I'm doing this to clean the fuel system, I'm going to put the entire can in there. I don't know if you guys have used Seafoam before, but this stuff works phenomenally well. Whole can in the diesel tank. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is swap these two tires back to the correct side. I have the tractor jacked up and you can see the tires are off the ground. Block washer, regular washer. All right, here we go. Yep. Not too heavy. And here is that tire from the other side. Let's see if I can get this sucker on here. Yep. I know you're not really supposed to lube up these threads, but they're so rusty. I just wanted some kind of protection in there. So I threw some PB Blaster on there. Today we're going to finish the service on this Kubota tractor, and the one change I'm going to make from what I was talking about before is I'm actually going to drain out the entire coolant system through the radiator drain plug, and I'm just going to refill it with Dex-Cool because what's in there right now is the green stuff, and I didn't feel like, actually I couldn't find any green stuff on the shelf, but I also didn't feel like having a separate color antifreeze that I would have to buy off the shelf just to satisfy this tractor. When all of my vehicles take the orange Dex-Cool, I might as well just drain out this green stuff and refill it with orange Dex-Cool. That way they all use the same stuff and I can just buy one color antifreeze off the shelf to replenish, if needed, any of my vehicles, and they all take the same. So that's what I'm going to do today, is drain this thing out and refill it with orange Dex-Cool. I've got this drain bucket in place. Now I'm going to remove this plug, hoping that it does come out okay. Well, it turns easy. Before I fully remove that plug, I'm going to open up the radiator cap from the top here. Oh, wow. What are the chances of that? That literally shot out like a squirt gun. As is pretty much what seems like always the case, the coolant drain on the radiator here is just getting everywhere. I literally can't believe that stuff shot out directly at me and hit me right in the pants. You can see this stuff wants to just spray out. What is the deal? So that's now completely drained. I even poured some distilled water down the top of the radiator and watched it come out the bottom, and it was somewhat clear, so that's good. But because I really don't know the full capacity of this coolant system, I went ahead and bought a gallon of concentrated and a gallon of distilled water. So I'm gonna take this gallon of concentrated Dex-Cool and just dump it right in this bucket. And now I'm gonna dump a gallon of distilled water in with it to mix it up for a 50-50 mix. I'll slosh it around a little bit to mix it. Now I need to get that fluid back into that bottle so that then I can pour it down that funnel. That'll do for now. I don't know if I was supposed to take this drain plug completely out. I have the drain plug back in, and now I'm going to attempt to fill up this radiator as much as I can. I'm assuming it's probably a 1 gallon radiator. We'll see if it starts overflowing. Okay, I still have some in the bottle and it looks like we're full to the top. I think the service is now officially done, well, as done as I want it to be. Let's see, I changed the oil filter. I swapped the 2 front tires back to the correct side. I flushed and changed the antifreeze. I changed the air filter, and I even put a little gear oil in the gearbox. Oh yeah, and I added some Seafoam to the fuel tank. And this whole time I've been charging the battery with my battery tender. All right, what do you say we start this thing up? I don't really know how to drive a tractor. I've only ever started this thing, so bear with me. I'm gonna put it into turtle mode, which is slow mode, I guess. Light the glow plugs. There's a little indicator right here that I can see when that's lit up. I know the glow plugs are properly lit. I do have my battery tender still plugged in and charging, so I'm gonna have to take that out once this thing starts up. Let me think about this. Okay, then I gotta throw it in reverse. Look at that, guys. Started right up. I'm gonna go ahead and detach the battery tender. Nothing's behind me. I gotta rev the engine a little bit. Raise that bucket, there we go. Okay. I'm gonna raise this bucket. Don't want to hit the wall. All right, guys, we are running. Listen to this thing clack away. Little 3-cylinder diesel. Wow. I'm not gonna lie, I just reversed out of the garage and I was going like less than 1 mile an hour, but that in itself was pretty scary. I don't know why. Okay, so that pedal right there is essentially the clutch. So I gotta press that in, and then you can see my stick here, and we have gears down here. So I was just in reverse. It looks like reverse has 1 and 2. I don't really understand 1 and 5, 3 and 7. This is odd. That little thing right there is my gas pedal. So if I press that, you can see a little plume of smoke. Watch this. Man, I gotta say, this thing runs really good. This tachometer obviously doesn't work. Down here by my left leg, I have this lever, which takes us from neutral to, I guess, fast mode, and this right here is a turtle for slow mode. And so that must be the difference between the meaning of all these gears. Okay, so we also have this stick here that basically determines the RPM. It's kind of like the gas pedal. So you can just not even touch the gas with your foot and just use this. Or you can pull it back and it'll essentially stop at some point, I think. Maybe not. You know what? It won't, because we're in gear. I'm gonna put it in third and see what happens there. That might get us a little more speed. Yeah, we're in slow mode, so this is slow, real slow. Well, I can confirm that slow mode, turtle mode, is very, very slow. But that's good, especially for me. I would definitely like to get the exhaust lengthened. All right, she's a ripper. All right, my first time ever driving a tractor, and it's my tractor, and it was incredibly fun. It was eye-opening. I got a new wrinkle in my brain. I serviced the thing, so I was confident with the oil, the air filter, and you know, all that good stuff. The thing is a ripper for sure. Goes quick. Not really, but I can't wait to get that thing out and actually do some work with it. But that will be for future videos. So thank you guys for watching me fiddle around with this 1991 Kubota L2050 here on the One Road farm. So thanks again for watching, guys. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that thumbs up. It really does help me and the channel. And also, if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. I'm Jimmy for One Road, and I will see you in the next one.